Hello, everybody, and welcome to Free UFC Bet Picks. Thanks for tuning into our show. We are going over UFC 256, Figueiredo versus Moreno. Really exciting card this week. Lots to look forward to. But before we get into all the good stuff this week, we do want to recap last week real fast. UFC Vegas 16, headlined by Hermansson versus Vettori. Aaron, do you want to go over that?
Yeah, really exciting card. Great card, top to bottom. Bunch of bangers. The main event was a banger. We told you to we'll start at the bottom. So first was Collier versus Volante. We said it was a dogger pass situation. We said to play Collier in DFS. Collier with a great performance. He's got just diverse striking. We talked about how even in his 40-second loss versus Tom Aspinall, he was flashing that high kick up there. Like, Collier is underrated, probably not anymore, right? But great performance by him. We called that dogger pass. A lot of people were putting Volante in parlays. There was an Australian guy who played a $50,000 parlay that led off with Volante, and I'm chatting with people in the group chat, and I was like, that's not gonna hit.
Yeah.
So after that, Ilia Topuria with a dominant first round victory, just like I told you all. Just kidding. All right, so don't give me credit for telling you not to bet on Kai Kamaka. Don't give me credit for telling you not to bet on Josh Parisian, or I could go on and on and on. But grill me, just roast, take a bathroom break at your job, go to the bathroom, and hop on YouTube and talk crap to me because I said that Damon Jackson was a good fighter and this was a closer fight. You guys were right. I was wrong. I've got a shoe.
Even though we've been right about.
Yeah, I mean, we're right. Yeah, like, we're right all the time. Just look at our
I can't
sportsbook
believe you're
apps.
actually.
I'm going to do a shoey in a second out of one of my oldest, dirtiest, favorite shoes.
Come on.
One of my favorite shoes. And it's an IPA. So, you were all right. No, not all of you. Just you. Just you. You're the only guy who had Topuria, 2-1 favorite. You genius. Amazing job. And I didn't say, but anyway, I was wrong. You were right. I'm dumb. You're smart. I'm drinking a shoey, and you don't have to. So, kudos to Topuria. Do I wish I put him in parlays? Sure. I wish I put Collier in parlays. I wish I put every winner in parlays. Yeah. But if I'm not confident about it, I tell you that, and I don't put him in parlays, and that has saved us. That's made us an insane amount of money, passing on the Kai Kamakas and the Josh Parisians, and sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes I pass on an Ilia Topuria. So, great fight by him. We were wrong there. Also, I said that the Collier Collier and Volante fight would end inside the distance. I was wrong there too. Literally, from there on, the only other thing we were wrong about is that we gave Matt Wyman too much credit, and we thought that he might last to a decision.
Ooh, that one scared me.
Yeah. Oh, that was rough, and we were very happy when... And she was like... I kept rewinding it. I watched that thing for 10 minutes, and she's like, I need to see if Matt Wyman's okay.
She was trying to get the right Insta story.
Yeah, you got to do it for the gram. You guys know,
And I'm like, you keep rewinding it. I want to know if he's okay.
And she's like, stop making me watch this. So, Levitt was the number one parlay leg of the week. A lot of people were like, oh, I don't know. I don't feel confident about him. There was not a single parlay. And even after we've lost lots of parlays because of having too much Bobby Green or too much Louis Kosey, whatever the case may be, Jordan Levitt was in every single parlay darn near. After that, we told you Smolka, he slaughtered. We told you Smolka was a great DFS play. He slaughtered. After that, Roman Delise was the fourth leg of our parlays. We did say we did have a couple bets with him inside the distance. He didn't finish. It was a nice job. We told you that John Allen was solid. He looked really good against Slow Mike Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Benitez, Gabriel Mowgli Benitez was the fourth leg of parlays, cashed. Hill moneyline, Hill by KO. We hit the wildly deep parlay thanks to Hill KO. You should have seen me screaming and yelling when that hit. And then we lost a couple bets because we had Jack round one submission. But you should be happy because if he got that round one submission, we wouldn't be filming this. We'd be on a beach because those were 100,000 to 1.
Right.
Parlays that were really close. He was so close to getting that heel hook in round one. My goodness. Jack likes those dry submissions. He likes the guillotines and the heel hooks like we talked about. As the fight goes on, he has less and less opportunity to submit. We did think that, Vettori might gas. He was on something of short notice, right? 5-round fight. Vettori, great performance by him. So, do I wish I put Marvin Vettori in a bunch of parlays? Yeah. I wish I just put the mortgage on Vittori and Tapuria.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Tapuria inside the distance and Marvin but we absolutely slaughtered. The only thing we did wrong was we lost like 4 units because of Levitt by decision, because we gave Wyman too much credit. We said he's a veteran, he's not going to get submitted, he's not going to get knocked out, right? So anyway, absolute slaughter. In fairness, most pickers, most handicappers, most experts had a great weekend. The bookies picked them right. Most of the favorites won. Don't let these experts get away from being like, oh, we were 6-2 this week. Whatever, bro, because I guarantee your parlays, you didn't hit any longer than 4 legs. We hit the longest parlays you've ever seen. We hit 6-leg parlays that have Figgy and have Connor. They're 8-leg parlays. 6 legs have already hit. And so we lost like 4.5 units across those. Most of that was Jordan Levitt by decision. Lost like 0.3 units on a couple of sprinkles on Jack by round 1 submission as like the last leg of these incredibly long, amazing parlays. We won about 15 units. And we won about 20 units where they're just waiting on Figgy and or Connor, a little bit of Cyril gone in there. We added like 20 units to these banks that are about to cash just a couple days from now.
Yeah.
So just an incredible weekend. She's up, 2 weeks in a row that she's up in her like experiment. So just a separate little bankroll that's just experimental. We've been Christmas shopping and stuff. So we keep telling you 2 weeks in a row that she's about to have these videos just breaking down her bets. Well, she will, and it'll be bets for this weekend. So it's going to be 3 weeks just up. But this
super safe bets.
Super safe, yeah.
Parlays. Last one got Levitt Smolka Hill moneyline parlay. That paid out.
And that's like the longest one, right?
Yeah.
And we had Jack versus Marvin over 2.5, which we told you about. That was plus money, and by the time the fight started, that had been steamed. Money was pouring in on the Jack versus Marvin over 2.5. So just an incredible weekend, and but I'm the stupidest.
God.
I'm the stupidest guy in the world. You are all so smart. You picked Ilia Topuria, 2.5 to 1 favorite. And I said, I think this fight's a little closer than you think. But I'm the idiot. So, all right, you got to pour this nice and slow because it can't be too foamy. That's foamy as hell.
It's very foamy.
I'm pouring slow.
You got to pour against the rim.
Is that a thing in shoes? I don't know.
Probably not in shoes. I've never poured into a shoe.
This shoe is getting heavy. I'm actually pleasantly surprised that there's no drippage. Can you see that? Oh yeah, you can see that. So look at your bankroll. You guys all cash money on Ilia Topuria, and let's see if I can not throw up. This is an old shoe. There's like dog hair in here. I'm gonna make her puke. All right, here we go.
Oh my god. And it's an IPA. Oh Jesus. Anyways.
Wow.
Do you finish the whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh god.
You don't sip on a shoey. Ooh. Well, and there goes
fast.
There goes one of my favorite shoes in the trash. I get injured a lot, so
oh my god.
There's like a 33% chance that left shoe will come in handy when I bust my foot playing flag football or something. So
normally we give our recycled shoes to the dog, so
yeah,
maybe we'll give her a beer shoe. And she'll
get lit. She'll get lit. She can relish in the Ilia Topuria love as well. So nice job to you all. Thank you all for watching.
Wow, what a champ.
Hope you all slaughtered.
You just
and yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So, wrapping up last week's card with a shoey. So, can't really beat that. Anyway, make sure you tune in to our post-weigh-in video on Friday. We do our post-weigh-in videos.
She's about to
on
puke.
Friday every week. I'm like, oh, I can't believe you just did
Delicious.
that. Okay.
Avery Brewing Company. Avery Brewing IPA. Delicious. All right.
Out of a shoe.
Yeah.
This is not an advertisement.
Not a new shoe. Not a new shoe. Like, this is one of my favorite shoes. It's still so heavy. But, I mean, like, I drank that. Like, it's just a little bit of foam. But that's gone. Yeah, well. All right, so thank you all. Thank you all for your support.
Yes.
Nice job picking Topuria. He's a stud. His striking was much improved. Obviously, his striking did not look like that against Yusuf Zalal. His last fight before coming in the UFC, he had a first round one punch knockout. But even that, like his striking in this fight against Damon Jackson with those body shots was freaking amazing. So congrats to Ilya.
Yeah. Don't expect that to happen every time we're wrong about a pick.
These people know that we're not wrong very often. So.
Yeah. Okay, anyways, like I was saying, make sure you do tune in to that post weigh-in video on Friday.
Turn up and tune in
To that post weigh-in. Lots of important stuff going on in the weigh-ins, and we'll just have nice final quick little predictions, like 2 minutes per fight, bets, parlays, DFS advice, all the stuff that you need.
And not to jump the gun, but there's a couple of fights that are really important. Souza fought at 205 last fight.
Right.
We got, the main event. Both guys are coming in on short notice. I got a lot of thoughts about that. People think that, Figgy has to come back. The short turnaround favors Figgy. I got 3 really important reasons why. Somebody big, missed weight by 5 pounds last fight. So we'll get into it. Oh, yeah, Sam Hughes. Fighting against Tisha Torres. She had a nice round 1 guillotine against Danielle Hindley last fight. She came in 5 pounds overweight, so we got to keep an eye on her. She's coming in on short notice against Tisha Torres. So the weigh-ins are super important. Not to jump the gun here.
No. Yeah, so we will have that on Friday. Make sure you tune into that. We're going to try to get that live for you guys, hopefully by this Friday. If not, definitely by next week, we'll have those live post weigh-ins. Mm-hmm. So let's get right into our fights this weekend. It is UFC 256, headlined by Figueiredo versus Moreno. Starting with the prelims, working our way up. It is a featherweight bout between Chase Hooper and Peter Barrett. Chase Hooper is the favorite here at -400. Barrett, the underdog, at +300. Chase Hooper's got 3 inches of height, 2 inches of reach on Barrett. What are you thinking about this one?
I think it's a pretty entertaining fight, actually. Chase Hooper's got a lot of hype behind him. He didn't look great in his last fight, but people are really excited about him. He's super young. He had a great Contender Series showing. They call him Little Ben Askren or Nephew Askren. I can't remember. Ben Askren's son or whatever it is. I can't think of his nickname, but he looks like Ben Askren with the curly hair. He's actually been training with Ben Askren, and this guy's a dominant ground fighter. But when he can't get it to the ground, he struggles. So his last fight against Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy, we picked Bruce Leroy because we thought he'd be safe on the ground, would get up, would have the cardio edge, and would style on him, and that's literally exactly what happened. Caceres had good takedowns and get-ups, using his kicks to keep the distance, and he actually dropped Chase Hooper early in the fight. I think round 1, he dropped Chase Hooper with a straight right. So Chase, it wasn't a great performance by him, and he was a big favorite there. A lot of parlays got busted. A lot of DFS lineups got busted because everyone just was believing the hype. But Alex Caceres is a much better fighter than Peter Barrett here, so not to give him a pass here, but it was a good fight. Before that, round 1, ground and pound versus Daniel Teemer. It's interesting. We got a lot of guys on this card who fought against his brother David Teemer, who's a stud. Daniel Teemer is not as good. But that was Hooper's, UFC debut. Teemer's a decent striker, but no ground game at all. Not a whole lot you could take away there. Hooper did exactly what he was supposed to. The round 1 rear naked choke against Luis Gomez in Titan FC before he came over, that was a cool fight. There was a lot of weird positions in there. It was a dominant ground performance by Hooper. Luis Gomez is decent. Luis Gomez is decent. He was 7-3 at the time and had fought some okay competition. Not a bunch of guys in their debut. So Hooper, we know what we get from him. Good grappler, good wrestler, bad striking, and if he can't get you down, he struggles. So, he's a big favorite over Peter Barrett. Peter Barrett is smaller, older, but he's got good striking. And it's actually improving. He's training with Mark Delagrati. He's an entertaining fighter. He trains with Joe Lozon. He's one of my favorite people ever. Not even just one of my favorite UFC fighters. I just love Joe Lozon. And Peter Barrett's funny. In Titan FC, he would wear a punk rocker denim vest with spikes coming out of it. He's just a kind of a cool guy, and he's got fun striking. He'll throw backhand. He'll just kind of the way you can slap with a backhand. He'll throw 2 punches, a backhand hook combo and then a hook backhand backhand hook coming back at you. And pretty exciting stuff. He beat Sang Hoon Woo in Dana White Contender Series, of course, he landed a lot of punches. It was a good performance by him. The really exciting, kind of interesting fight that I found most applicable here was the Zach DeSabatino fight 3 fights ago. Tapology just has it as a round 1 KO. A lot of people haven't watched this fight. Honestly, this fight and rewatching Joaquin Buckley versus Kevin Holland were my 2 favorite moments of tape study this week. This is such a great fight against Zach DeSabatino. He was 5-1. You can find this fight on YouTube very easily, and it's worth watching. It is incredible. It's a one round fight, and it feels like it goes on forever because so much happens. But Zach is just peppering him on the feet, hurting him. Peter Barrett's peppering him, hurting him. He keeps landing these flying knees and just straight up the middle knees, keeps landing high kicks. He drops DeSabatino. I'm lit. I just did an IPA out of a 5-year-old shoe. He drops DeSabatino like 5 times. Every time, though, here's the important piece. DeSabatino is able to take him down. DeSabatino is knocked out on his feet. He was so hurt. And he continues to get, slippery Pete Barrett down to the ground. That is really applicable here, obviously, because of the amazing wrestling from Chase Hooper. Even in the Yusuf Zalal fight, Yusuf Zalal was taking him down. Peter Barrett's a good striker, so it's like this fight I feel like is a little too wide. There's some unknowns. If Peter Barrett can fight off the takedowns, he's gonna hurt. He's gonna hurt Hooper, but literally anyone can take Peter Barrett down. So I think Hooper's pretty safe. You can bet Hooper by submission. It's like even money, pretty good. I personally don't like any prop. Like the more I look at him, and I think of sub versus inside the distance versus the double chance of picking Hooper by sub or points. It's just like a pass all day for me. I swear. A lot of people are just putting Hooper in parlays, and he could break hearts. I think this might be the one of the week. But the thing is, I don't think Peter Barrett's going to win. Like I said, everyone takes him down. It's just that Hooper's striking is suspect. I think Hooper's safe. I wouldn't get too tricky with the methods. If you want to have him as like your 4th or 5th leg of your parlays, I get that. Even higher, I get it. But Peter Barrett is not a joke. He's a gamer. He's been around way longer, fought better competition. We expect that Chase Hooper's improved a lot over this time. I mentioned he's training with Ben Askren, but that was like for a short time. And then he's just back home training by himself. I think Chase Hooper's extremely overrated. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But he should win here. He should win here. To me, this fight is not worth betting on. I think this fight could go the distance. The bookies disagree. This is the 4th least likely fight to go to the cards, according to the bookies. They think Hooper's going to finish him. I could see it. This is just such a tough one. I mean, it almost seems too obvious. Hooper can take him down. Peter Barrett gets taken down frequently, but I just think Hooper's so overrated, and Barrett does a nice job having those knees that I was describing lined up, ready to go. And I always talk about, is this guy going to go in and get kneed in the face like a Ben Askren? This guy is his nickname. Jesus, how can I not think of his nickname? He's mini Ben Askren. He's now training with Ben Askren because they thought, oh, it's so funny how people call you my son, right? Why don't you come train with me? Yeah, well, there's a slim chance, call it like a 10% chance, that he might catch a Jorge Masvidal versus Ben Askren knee to the face in this fight. Because I watched Zach DeSabatino catch like 5 of them. I'm not exaggerating. Watch that fight. It's 4 minutes. It's on YouTube. It's amazing. So, I got Hooper to win. Not going out on a limb there.
Right.
I am telling you, I've got lots of parlays. I've got Garn in parlays. I've got Figgy. I've got lots of things in parlays. I don't have Hooper in any really. So
yeah,
if that tells you anything. So all of you guys, hop in the comments right now. Tell me that, I know, go tell us that Chase Hooper, 4-1 favorite's going to win. He's going to win. But, I think it's a closer fight, and I think the line is way too wide.
Yeah, I definitely agree that the line's way too wide, and mainly a pass there on the betting. I just think there's fights throughout the night that we're way more confident in than Chase Hooper.
Yeah.
As far as fantasy, probably the same situation there. We've got Hooper at 9,300 and Barrett at 6,900. What are you thinking?
So according to the math, on paper, you should absolutely play both of them. Barrett's a great punt, which I do think. Hooper, he's one of the most likely fighters to finish according to the bookies. I get it. Like you can have Hooper in some lineups, but there's a lot of fighters in that 8,000 range this week that I think are going to score higher than Hooper. Hooper, even when he wins, he doesn't put up like 120 points or anything. Like, even like that's a lot of points, right? But if he goes out there in round one, gets a takedown, gets some ground and pound, and round one submits Barrett, yeah, he's going to score high. And yeah, there's actually a decent chance that he does that. But I think there's a decent enough chance that this fight drags on that I think 9,300 for Hooper is a little pricey.
Yeah.
I would not have him in every lineup, but I would have some exposure to both these guys.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. The rest of the fights are, I think, a little cleaner from a betting perspective. There's some unknowns here. But stylistically on paper, Hooper seems like a slam dunk, but there's just something sketchy about it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next one here. It is a heavyweight bout between Sergey Spivak and Jared Vanderaa. Spivak is 11-2, 2-2 in the UFC. Vanderaa is 11-4. This is his UFC debut after a win in the Contender Series. Vanderaa does have an inch of height and 2 inches of reach on Spivak. Spivak is the favorite, though, at -250, and Vanderaa the underdog at +198. What are you thinking about this one?
I do like Spivak here. Vanderea's nice. Vanderaa had a good performance against Hunsucker in his last fight in the Contender Series. We all probably remember that. Not too long ago, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, he was bouncing between LFA and EFC in like an African organization. He was losing in LFA. And we know that LFA fighters are good. There's a lot of new LFA fighters in the UFC. Gustavo Lopez off the top of my head, but there's like a ton. He was losing in LFA, but he's winning in EFC against Juan Potts, against Ricky Micholas. Ricky Micholas is 7-8 now. Like, these guys are not very good. When he fights Renan Ferreira, who's 6-2, is a main event. Ferreira's big. He's 6'10". He's a monster. He dropped Jared with a straight punch. Jared actually did a nice job. He was on bottom after getting dropped with that punch. He gets a sweep, he gets on top, and gets immediately triangle choked. So just bad striking defense, bad submission defense, not a great look. After that, he fought Tony Lopez. Tony Lopez is 64-32. That's his record. This guy's 47 years old with almost 100 fights. And he's not like a... He's a tweener. He's like that guy that needs a 235-pound division because he fights at 240, but he doesn't look that big. But he's not fat. It's not like Chris Dawkins where he has like a bunch of weight to shed. But Tony Lopez is kind of a smaller heavyweight, 47 years old, fought 90-plus times, and only wins 2/3 of the time. And then he comes in against Contender Series and fights Harry Hunsucker, who's not that good. But the thing is about Vanderaa, he's like getting pudgier. He used to be pretty trim back in those LFA and EFC days. And on that Dana White Contender Series fight, he looked pretty pudgy. But, he made quick work of Hunsucker, but he was hittable. Again, just like in the Renan Ferreira fight, he was hittable. So, he's not just going, like he doesn't have a really great base. He's not a great wrestler. He's not great at jiu-jitsu, and he's not some lights-out striker. He's just big. He's just big as hell. He's durable. I'll give him that. He's very durable. And he's got decent cardio for being so big. It was, again, in those slimmer days I was describing, but he's gone 5 rounds twice. One of those times he got finished in the 5th round, but one time he went to a 5-round decision. So he's got good cardio as far as heavyweights go. Mm-hmm. But Spivak, I think, is just better literally in every area. Spivak trains with better fighters. In his last fight against, Carlos Felipe, I picked Jorgen De Castro against Carlos Felipe, and Carlos Felipe beat him. Felipe's not a joke. Felipe is a legit UFC fighter with wins over other UFC fighters who have wins, and he's fine. He lost to Marcin Tybura, but there's no shame there. He finished Tai Tuivasa in the 2nd round with an arm triangle. Spivak is legit. Spivak's legit. I think Spivak is a really obvious choice here. I think he's actually a decent value. He's smaller. He is smaller than Vanderaa. So for these folks who never watched any fights and they just look at Tapology, they look at their heights and weights and their record, I get it that Vanderaa looks decently attractive, but I think Spivak should absolutely torch him here. It's a little concerning because neither one of them has great get-ups. They're not great wrestlers, but if Vanderaa gets on top of Spivak, Spivak doesn't have great get-ups, but neither does Vanderaa. I think this fight goes over 1.5. And I think Spivak takes it.
Yeah.
Spivak, it's not like, so his last fight against Carlos Felipe, he had a 10-8 third round, but it wasn't like he exactly had tons of gas in the tank in that third round. He just got the takedown and was heavy, stayed on top. But, I think his cardio checks out. Maybe Vanderea's even got better cardio, not sure. But Spivak's got good enough cardio, good enough size, good enough physicality that I think his skill advantage will pay off. Got Spivak.
Yeah. Definitely agree with you there on the Spivak pick. And what are you thinking about fantasy? We've got Spivak at 8,800 and Vanderaa at 7,400.
So, it's crazy to pass on heavyweights in DFS, but I think they're pretty much both a pass. I could, like I said, I think this goes to the over. I think this could go to decision even in a low volume affair. I think it's a pass for DFS.
Yeah. All right, let's get on to our next fight here. It is a women's strawweight bout between Tecia Torres and Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes stepping in late notice for Angela Hill. Torres is 11-5, 5-5 in the UFC. And Sam Hughes has a record of 5-1. This will be her UFC debut. Torres, the big favorite here at -500, and Hughes, the underdog, at +360. But she does have 4 inches of height and 3.5 inches of reach on Torres, so quite an advantage there. What are you thinking here?
So we all know Tecia Torres. She loses to the best. She loses to Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Weili Zhang. She beats everyone else, right? Her last fight was a unanimous decision win against Brianna Van Buren. I'll mention this. Tecia Torres goes to decision all the time. In losses or wins. I don't expect to finish in this fight, to be honest. And Sam Hughes is decent enough. So we watched a lot of Sam Hughes recently. The IG followers know that. She has good, nuanced striking. She throws feints. She moves her head. She keeps it off the center line. She changes levels. She mixes up the striking. She is really decent striking. I almost think she's a live dog. She's coming in on short notice. Tecia Torres is a vet. Sam Hughes lost to Vanessa Demopoulos recently, who Corey McKenna beat. Vanessa Demopoulos isn't the best, and Sam Hughes lost to her. But it was a good fight. She lasted till the 4th round. It was a good fight up until then, and Hughes was winning the striking for sure, and Vanessa couldn't get her down. Now, Tecia Torres is a way better wrestler than Vanessa Demopoulos, right? But Sam Hughes is underrated. That's what I'll say. She's got good striking. She had Vanessa Demopoulos kind of acting desperate, going for desperate takedowns, and she was styling on her for 3 rounds. Finally, that 4th round, Vanessa goes for a really desperate takedown, and she actually gets it. There was a scramble. She was just chaining submission attempts together, and finally, gets that inverted triangle. It was gorgeous, and she put Sam Hughes to sleep. Interestingly, in Sam Hughes' next fight, she put Danielle Henley to sleep. You pull your arm out and their head smacks against the canvas, sleeping, memes, amazing submissions. So that Danielle Henley fight, she hasn't fought anyone. She beat an 0-4 Brianna Smith. She's not that great, but Danielle Henley looked decent. She's big, and Henley, she was just. It was just a good fight by Hughes. It was everything we've been describing. Hughes with nice, nuanced striking, good, consistent pace. She's not going in there throwing a bunch of 5-punch combos. It's just incessant, kind of like Jamal Hill or OSP. Kind of like some fighters we talk about on this card in a little bit. But Sam Hughes was just putting it on her. It was a really good performance, and then Danielle Henley ends up shooting in for a really ill-advised takedown, puts her arm, head right in the armpit, gets guillotined, goes to sleep. So Sam Hughes has better striking than you think. She's made fighters pay for trying to take her down, but Tecia Torres is a whole, just a whole class above. I'm staying away from this fight. I'm not betting on Tecia Torres at -500. Yeah. I think Sam is underrated. She's coming in on short notice. But like Sam's only chance, she's not going to knock Tisha Torres out. She's not going to submit her. She's not going to take her down. That's not even what she wants to do. She wants to strike. She wants to turn this into a 15-minute striking match, and then she has a 50-50 chance of winning. If Chris Lee is judging,
yeah, who knows?
Who knows?
It could, anything could happen.
Yeah, you might get a 30 to 24 scorecard or some crazy shit. So
Who knows?
I think Tisha Torres is not worth adding to parlays, as she's a lock. She's absolutely a lock, but this is women's MMA we're talking about. It's going to go to decision. These judges don't know anything. Don't bet on this fight. Sam Hughes is underrated. But obviously Tisha should style on her. You know, Tisha's 4 inches shorter. She's got the low center of gravity. But Tisha likes to mix it up. She's a good striker. She likes to show that off. Tisha needs to wrestle with Sam Hughes, and she's got an easy day at the office.
Yeah. And as far as fantasy goes, you did mention it might go the distance, and both of them are strikers. So we've got Torres at 8,900 and Hughes at 7,300.
So I'll just say pass on both. Sam Hughes actually puts on good volume when she's able to do what she wants to do. I don't think Tisha Torres is going to let her strike for 15 minutes though. So I don't anticipate 80 plus significant strikes in the distance striking from Sam Hughes. So pass on both for sure, because
They're
Tisha Torres is
pricey too.
Well, yeah, especially they're both actually I would think Sam Hughes should be like 6,900, 6,700, and she'd be a good punt play at 73. I don't hate it, but there's fighters at like 8,000 that are absolute DFS locks. So absolutely a pass on both.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next fight here.
Again, real quick, Sam Hughes missed weight by 4 pounds in her last fight, so it's something to keep an eye on. She might be pretty drawn out at weigh-ins, in which case then I might go ahead and put Tisha in all my parlays.
Yeah.
I don't think this line's going to move any further Tisha's direction. It's already minus 500, so no rush there. I'd say wait for the weigh-ins on this fight if you want to bet it, but I'd much rather just walk the dog during this fight.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our next one here. It is a featherweight bout between Gavin Tucker and Billy Quarantillo. Tucker 12-1, 3-1 in the UFC. Quarantillo 15-2, 3-0 in the UFC. He's got 4 inches of height and reach on Tucker, and he is the favorite in this fight at minus 168. Tucker, the underdog, at plus 136. What are you thinking here?
That's freaking wild, because it was just days ago where Quarantillo was a huge underdog. Not huge, but, this line is completely flipped. He was plus 136. Gavin Tucker was minus 150-ish. And I was kind of surprised, I like Gavin Tucker. He looked good in the Justin James fight, but he got dropped in the Justin James fight, and he had to just let James' cardio gas out, which we all know it would. And he ends up, rear naked choking James in the 3rd round. He locks in the body triangle. I like his jiu-jitsu. These guys are both similar. They both are very well-rounded. Gavin Tucker looks huge for the division. It's because he's short. Quarantillo's got a huge height and reach on him here. Quarantillo's going to have the edge and cardio in round 3, I think. Quarantillo's got the pace and the volume to add up. And even in a fight like against Spike Carlisle, where Spike was trying to hold him down the whole fight, Billy was the underdog in that fight, and Spike gasped, but even in the 3rd round, he was able to do some good things. He was holding Billy against a cage. The whole fight, he was just trying to hold Billy down. But he got Billy down and he was holding him down. Billy was on top of him and couldn't really do anything. Billy got his back, and you think, he's going to choke Spike Carlisle out because Billy's got great jiu-jitsu, and he couldn't. It was kind of a stalemate type of fight, and Billy still lands just like a ton of significant strikes and puts it on him. Before that, he fought Jacob Kilburn, just dominated them for a full round and a half. If you go back, 5 fights and you look at his last loss against Michael Quinones, he lost to a high kick. 2 minutes in, Billy was dropped. He's dropped. It was like a lead body kick, 2 punches, high kick combo, like a 4-strike combo with 2 kicks. It was a nice combo from Michel Quinones, and Quinones was winning the striking. He was bouncing around the outside. Quarantillo was taking the inside of the cage, kind of chasing him down, plotting. Had trouble reaching him, even though he's 6'10" or whatever, or 5'10". He's tall for the division. And Billy was pushing him up against the cage, trying to get a takedown. Can't. he pushes off and lands a nice knee, and Michelle, Quinones just lands a sick head kick with no setup, just a naked head kick. It was not a great performance from Billy Quarantillo. We've seen him dropped a couple times. We have seen him dropped a couple times, to be honest. His most recent fight against Kyle Nelson, he just, poured it on him, just out volume it. He's got the pace, he's got the cardio, he's got all the skills you could ever want. And Kyle Nelson just was surviving, and wilted in the third round. Mm-hmm. Gavin Tucker, again, we talked about his last fight against Janes. He got dropped by Janes in round 1. It was like a uppercut hook combo, if I recall. Dropped him. Gavin popped right back up. Ends up just taking Janes back in the third round and choking him out. His only loss is to Rick Glenn, and a lot of people think that this fight could be a lot like that. Rick Glenn is just a nice striker, just puts it on you. And, Tucker had nothing for him. Couldn't get him down. Couldn't do anything in the striking. This could be a similar type of fight for Billy. You wanted to get on it when Billy was an underdog. I do think that the bookies got this one wrong. We saw it recently with Norma Dumont where they got it right. They had Norma Dumont as a big favorite. Money poured in on Ashley. I got that fight wrong, even myself. We thought Ashley was going to win. We never seen anything quality out of Norma Dumont. She was taken down and beating nobodies. Then when she couldn't, hold down, I'm going to call her Angela. She's supposed to be fighting Amanda Nunes. She knocked her out. I've got it here in my spreadsheet, but I won't waste your time. So she just got knocked out. Megan Anderson. God, she got knocked out with a straight right from Megan, right? But the bookies had it right. The bookies knew that Norma was a better striker, and she just went in there and just poured on heavy punches. I think this is a case where they got it wrong and the bettors are getting it right. I could think of the Gustavo Lopez versus Anthony Burchak fight where Anthony Burchak came in as a favorite. Money poured on Gustavo Lopez. The bookies were wrong there. I think this is that situation. I think Billy Quarantillo is going to win. At this point, I think this is a close enough fight that you don't want to pick Billy at minus 168. That's getting really ridiculous because Gavin Tucker's a good fighter here.
Yeah.
The pick is Billy. I would say for betting, it's a pass. This is too close. We're parlay bettors. A lot of people like to just pick single shots and try to get good value. And I get that. But, I'm trying to find locks and put them in long parlays that 8 times or 20 times or 30 times my bet. So it's kind of a pass for betting in my opinion because this line has been steamed. We on our Instagram, we've been talking about this and saying like, hey, this line's moving. You have an opportunity to get Billy Quarantillo at plus money, and then a couple days from now, get Gavin Tucker at plus money. Mm-hmm. That's the way you do it. You get both of them at plus 110, plus Figueiredo, plus another fight that you feel really confident in, and you're making significant money just by being wise and being ahead of it, being ahead of the line movement.
Yeah.
But you don't cash tickets by betting on underdogs. You don't cash tickets by beating the line movement. You cash tickets by being selective and picking the correct fights. And I'm not going to be betting on either of these guys, but I like them both in DFS.
Yeah.
What are their prices?
In DFS, Tucker is $7,700 and Quarantillo is $8,500.
I think those prices are both fair. I think they're both good. Quarantillo is like a DFS star. Like I said, he gets up 80 points in what seems like a boring fight. If it's a high-paced, exciting fight, he puts up over 100 points. Gavin Tucker is very good. He might be the more powerful striker. I think Gavin Tucker has an opportunity to finish him here. So I think they're both great DFS plays.
Yeah.
This is a really exciting fight. I'm excited that I don't have a bunch of bets riding on this one because I'm going to watch this one and enjoy it. But I think they're both good DFS plays. And yeah, gosh, I just wish I'd put more on Billy when he was the underdog. But
yeah. All right, let's move on to our next one here. It is a women's strawweight bout between Mackenzie Dern and Virna Jandiroba. Dern is 9-1, 4-1 in the UFC. Jandiroba 16-1, 2-1 in the UFC. Height and reach relatively the same. Dern is the favorite here at minus 200, and Jandiroba the underdog at plus 160. What are you thinking here?
So early, I like Mackenzie. I think she's improving her striking big time. I've got a couple parlays that had her included at minus 158. Now she's minus 200 or whatever. I think that's too wide.
Yeah.
And I try not, we try not to get too picky about the lines and stuff because like I just said, we're just trying to pick certain winners. But minus 200 for Mackenzie, this is going to be a close fight. They're you mentioned how their tail of the tape lines up pretty evenly. But their styles match up really evenly as well. They're both great jiu-jitsu players. Like, they might be the two best women's jiu-jitsu players, in this division. They both have improving striking, okay striking. I think I give Mackenzie the slight edge there, but other people disagree. I will give Verna the wrestling edge. It's tough. Mackenzie has like a 14% takedown success rate. We picked Randa Marcos in her last fight because Randa Marcos swore that she wasn't going to test the jiu-jitsu. She hits Mackenzie with a punch. It wasn't even like a knockdown. It was kind of like a slip. Mackenzie falls down, and it reminds me of Fedor jumping in Fabricio Verdum's guard. You got to really be a hardcore fan, to remember that one. And Randa Marcos jumps in Mackenzie Dern's guard, and then she's fighting off this incredibly deep, vicious armbar for like 3 minutes that Dern finally finished. So people don't make Dern do what they should make her do. They play her game, and it's bad. So I think this is a closer fight than the line indicates. It's almost to the point where I would recommend betting on the underdog because this is going to be a 50-50 coin flip fight, I'll tell you. I think Mackenzie's got the striking edge. I think Verna's got the grappling edge. The last time we saw Verna lose was in her UFC debut against Carla Esparza, right? I mean, like, no shame there, former champ. And, before that, she won the LFA belt against Mizuki Inoue, who we like, a UFC fighter now. It was a really close fight. Really like, some people thought Mizuki won. It was a split decision. After that, she defends her title against Janissa Merendin, and that was a good fight. She's putting it on her the whole time, took her down in round 2, secures the arm triangle, like easy work. Her last 2 fights, she fought Felice Herrig, who's coming off an ACL surgery. Like, I just give her no credit for that win at all.
Yeah.
They both, they beat people they should beat. They lose to people they should lose to. Mackenzie Dern lost to Amanda Hebos, who's amazing. Dern was a big 2-1 favorite in that fight, just like she's a 2-1 favorite in this fight. And this has a lot of, Dern versus Hebos written all over it. I think Jandaroba's extremely live dog. The puppy, Jin, if you guys follow on Instagram, Jin's picks, Jin the Jindo, she picked Verna. So
yeah.
If I didn't know any odds and I just had to pick who's winning, if we're at cage side watching and I'm telling somebody who I think is going to win, I think Mackenzie should win here. But Verna's got the absolute opportunity to lay and pray. And it's not like Verna's striking's terrible, but Verna should have the wrestling edge, and she has decent enough jiu-jitsu that you think she'd be safe. But I think Mackenzie's got the grappling edge barely, striking edge barely. I'll pick Mackenzie.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'll be a fun one to watch, and closer, I think a little closer than it's indicating. Like, I really could go either way. I can't really decide on a pick there.
Yeah, that's why we have the dog pick 'em.
Yep. In fantasy, we've got Dern at 8,700 and Jandaroba at 7,500.
So it's interesting because most women's fights, they're expected to go to decision, but this one, people actually expect that there could be a finish because they're both very dangerous fighters. But overall, I think it's just a pass. 8,700, F no. 7,500, I'd say Jandaroba's a fine punt play.
Yeah.
7,500, yeah. The thing is, like, is she going to score? So I kind of think about it like, if I'm paying 7,500, I want her to score 75 points for me. Even in a win, she might barely score that. I think it's a pass on both, but Verna would be an okay play, I think.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next fight here. It is a featherweight bout between Cub Swanson and Daniel Pineda. Swanson 26-11, 11-7 in the UFC. Pineda is 27-13. 2 no contest, and he is 3-4 in the UFC. Height and reach relatively the same. Pineda the favorite here at -168, and Swanson the underdog at +136. What are you thinking on this one?
I like Pineda in this. Love Cub Swanson. Love him from his old WEC days. He's a veteran. He's a fan favorite. But I've always been a Pineda fan. I'm actually Facebook friends with Dana Pineda because I was back in the day when like these fighters didn't have 20,000 or 100,000 followers. Like Demetrius Johnson, Nate Marquardt. Like I'm actual Facebook friends with a lot of fighters because back in the day they didn't even have 5,000 Facebook friends, let alone 5,000 Instagram followers.
Yeah.
So like back in the day, I would be messaging Dana Pineda. You know, when he was in the UFC, then left. He had a great kind of run outside the UFC. He was killing it. He almost won the $1 million tournament, and but he got busted for PEDs, so that's why he's got those 2 no contests on his record.
Yeah.
So he came in against a huge favorite in Herbert Burns, and we think, you know, Herbert should win everywhere, striking, clinch, wrestling, grappling, and Pineda beat him in all areas. You know, we weren't sure what Dana Pineda we were going to see. He's coming off PEDs, right? Like, and but I'm really big on Pineda here. Pineda's one of my most confident picks of this week, and he's only minus 168. I think he's incredible value.
Yeah.
He has the wrestling, the ground and pound, good striking. It's funny because you think, well, you know, Cub Swanson's got the experience, right? He's got 30-something fights. Pineda's got more fights. Pineda's got 42.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just like Pineda everywhere. You know, I could break down their fights. But he beats Herbert Burns with like just great ground game, crucifix elbows. I'll just leave it there. I'm very confident in Dana Pineda.
Yeah.
Got him in some parlays. He's like the 3rd, 4th-ish leg. I'm more confident in Pineda than I am in Tony Ferguson. And Tony Ferguson's one of the best fighters in UFC history.
Yeah.
You know, I think this is great value on Dana Pineda.
Yeah, and Fantasy has Pineda at 8,300 and Swanson at 7,900.
I think Pineda, honestly, should be in like every lineup you play.
It's a great price for being that confident in him as well.
Definitely a great price. And we just heard, so it's a $400 difference when the money line difference is as wide as the Dern fight, but Dern's way more expensive in DFS.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. Like,
No, it doesn't.
No, Pineda, DFS lock. DFS lock. Put him in.
All right.
And that being said, Cub Swanson, actually, you know, it's 7,900. That's pricey for Cub Swanson. I don't think he has any opportunity to win here. I'd pass on Swanson.
Yeah.
But it's not the worst play. If he does win, it's going to be a nice high volume striking affair. I guess he can knock out Pineda. I don't think he can submit him. I don't think he's going to get him down, submit him, get him in trouble.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say Swanson's a 100% pass. I'd say he's an okay play, but Pineda is a lock, must play, must start type of guy.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next one here. It is a heavyweight bout between Junior Dos Santos and Cyril Gane. Dos Santos 21-8. He's 15-7 in the UFC. Gane is 6-0, 3-0 in the UFC. They've got same height, but Gane has a 6-inch reach on Santos. He is a large favorite here at minus 450, and Dos Santos the underdog at plus 330. What are you thinking here?
Big on Cyril. On Cyril. Been putting him in parlays for a few weeks, ever since the line was available to include. So I've got a little bit of a Gone bank, you know, not like a Figgy bank or a Connor bank or any, you know, not to that level, but got some parlays that every leg is hit. We're just waiting on Cyril to bring him home.
Yeah.
He can do it anywhere. So everyone's like, oh, okay, JDS is chinny. JDS is past his prime. It's time to fade JDS. Yeah, maybe. I can't disagree with that. The reason I'm so confident on Gane is because he has multiple paths to victory. He will piece you up on the feet, to put it lightly. He's got amazing striking on the feet, and he doesn't gas himself out. He doesn't get reckless. Mm-hmm. He stays defensive. Then when he decides he wants to take you down, he does it every time. When he decides he wants to submit you, he does it. He has every path to victory here. He's faster, more explosive than JDS. So you think, well, could this guy break our heart? Could he do a Bobby Green? No. Could he do a Tanner Bozer versus Arlovsky? That's, you know, like, well, you'd think maybe JDS has the ring IQ, right? Maybe JDS can make this a stand-up affair for 15 minutes. No, I really don't think so. And it's not because JDS is chinny. It's because Gane will take him down if he needs to, and he will submit him.
Yeah.
Really, really, really big on Gane. You know, he was piecing up Dontel Mays. 15 seconds left in the fight. He's like, I know I'm about to win this decision in a landslide, but let me try for a heel hook here. And he hits it. You know, the round 1 arm triangle over Rafael Pessoa, great fight. You know, he was switching stances. He's light on his feet. He's moving in and out. He catches a kick and tosses Pessoa, and you know, Pessoa bounces right back up. But then he pops a jab on him. Like, he's really great in his transitions. You know, when people are bouncing up, he puts a striking on him. When people are covering up from the striking, he'll wrestle with them. So just extremely big, extremely heavy on Gon. Yeah. Really confident in him. Early in his, like, before he got to the UFC, early in his MMA career, there's a little bit of a concern that he would lose Casillas, that he was a first round knockout or bust, and then he would gas. He actually kind of got that under control, and now he's extremely measured. He doesn't throw too much volume. He doesn't gas himself. Just like literally, there's like no chink in his armor. The only type of fighter that I could pick to beat Gon would just be like a dominant wrestler who could lay and pray. Right. You don't want to strike with this guy. So just really confident in him. You know, JDS looked okay, you know, in his last couple fights against Killer. You know, he was doing okay against, you know, Jairzinho, Rosenstrike, Curtis Blades. That's a tough fight. You know, when Curtis Blades has such a wrestling advantage, then it's hard to strike with him because you're just worried the whole time. You know, Blades ends up hitting that really sick knee that drops him. You know, his last win was against Derek Lewis, and it's only because Derek Lewis gassed out of his mind. Before that, he fought Tai Tuivasa. Tai Tuivasa was putting it on JDS in round 1. Tai Tuivasa putting it on JDS in the striking. Former champion, round 1. Finally, Tai was just gassed and put his head out there and like on a tee for a child, and JDS, you know, hit it out of the park. Yeah. But love JDS, big fan of his, Sagano. But so last thing, we talked enough about this fight for it being so cut and dry in my opinion. Sometimes people can overstate they will like literally make their decisions on, this seems like, I don't know, this seems like a pick 'em fight, but the UFC must be giving this aging veteran to this guy. They must be trying to build this guy up. And they don't know anything about it, but they think this looks like the UFC is trying to build this young guy up and give him an aging veteran. And they literally make their pick off of that. I think people overstate that big time. Because you say, oh, Tanner Boser, they're just giving him Arlovsky. They're just feeding him to him. But then after it's like, oh, they gave Arlovsky that tune-up fight. They gave him a fight to get back on track, right? This is the fight that is inarguable. The UFC knows Cyril Gane's going to beat him. The UFC is 100% giving Gane this name for his resume on a silver platter. And I hope it makes sense. I don't think that very often. I think people exaggerate that. This is 100% an example of that. The UFC wants Gane. He's not as much of a household name as he should be. The UFC, they're putting him on the main card. You know, like, they don't care about JDS anymore. They might cut JDS after this fight. JDS doesn't sell pay-per-views anymore. JDS is losing to, you know, good fighters, but JDS isn't what he used to be. The UFC, I think, is using him as a stepping stone for Cyril Gane, and I don't say that all the time.
Yeah. And as far as fantasy, we've got Gane at 9,200, obviously one of the pricier fighters on the card, and Dos Santos at 7,000.
So maybe I shouldn't overthink it. These guys are both knockout artists. They're both heavyweights. Maybe I should just say play them both. You know, Gane, 9,200, that's pricey, but I'm very confident in him. $7,000 for JDS. His only chance is a knockout or a high volume, you know, point battling, striking affair, keeping his distance. I don't think that's going to happen, but so you think, yeah, if JDS wins, he's going to win in high fashion and Cyril Gane's going to dominate. But I think this fight could be a little slower paced and more measured than people think. This is the second least likely fight to go to decision. So the bookies disagree. The bookies say there's only one fight more likely to end in a finish than this, and it's the main event. So maybe I shouldn't overthink it. You know, they're heavyweights. The fight's likely to end in a finish. Play them. But to be honest, I'm going to be a little less heavy on these two in DFS than one might think. I think this could go to a decision. I think it could get drawn out, and I think it could be a little lower scoring than people think.
Yeah.
I think these fighters are both going to be extremely high owned for all the reasons I just mentioned, the finishing ability, the weight. So maybe I shouldn't overthink it. Obviously, they're both decent plays, but I think they're both sneaky fade, to be honest.
Yeah. All right, let's move into our next fight here. It is Kevin Holland versus Jacare Souza in a middleweight bout. Holland is 20-5, 7-2 in the UFC. Jacare Souza is 26-8 with 1 no contest and 9-5 in the UFC. Holland does have 2 inches of height and 9 inches of reach on Souza. He is, it's a pick'em fight here actually. Holland at -115 and Souza at -105. What are you thinking here?
I'm picking Souza, and I'm calling it an underdog pick. By the time you guys watch this tomorrow, Souza might be the favorite.
Yeah.
Money's pouring in on Souza. Kevin Holland started out like -170. So go back and watch the Brendan Allen fight. The first round was back and forth. Kevin actually, Brendan's trying to pull him down, trying to fish for a leg, and Kevin stays heavy on top and cuts him with a vicious elbow. So round 2, it was a good first round for Kevin. He did good. He stayed safe in the grappling, and we know that Kevin's going to have the big advantage against Brendan Allen in the striking, right? So round 2, how does Brendan Allen get Kevin down? He doesn't. Kevin takes Brendan Allen down. Questionable fight IQ, to put it lightly. Questionable fight IQ from Kevin Holland. Do I trust that Kevin Holland's actually going to stay smart and stay on his feet? And if he, Ronaldo's going to go for the takedowns, obviously. Kevin's got okay takedown defense. It's like 50% takedown defense, and Souza's only got like 25% takedown offense, and that's across like 15 or 20 fights. I mean, he's been in the UFC forever, right? So he's not a dominant wrestler. But I think he's bigger. He's just stronger than Kevin. Obviously not as tall and not the reach, but he just fought at light heavyweight his last fight. He had a split decision against the champ, Jan Blachowicz. Souza has got the more muscle here. Souza can get him down. And when Kevin actually gets safe, gets his leg free, gets his arm free, gets his head free, I don't have confidence that Kevin Holland's going to stand up and strike again, because he hasn't shown that.
Yeah.
Charles Ontiveros, welterweight, on a couple days' notice, 7-1 underdog, comes in, puts heavy hands and a high kick on Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland takes him down, slams him, gets that submission slam. Another reminder, don't be too tricky with your methods. You think a guy's going to knock somebody out, they submit him.
Yeah.
You think somebody's going to submit a guy, and then they ground and pound and look up at the ref, and the ref stops it, and they get a TKO, right? So he slams a guy, finishes him, and it's a submission. So just a reminder not to get too tricky with your methods. But Kevin Holland, if I trusted his fight IQ, he would have a good chance here. But Souza is underrated. Souza has decent striking. He just knocked out Chris Weidman a couple fights ago. He lost to Blachowicz, like I said. He lost to Jack Hermanson. It's a unanimous decision for Jack Hermanson, but that was a close fight. And in round 3, Souza was hurting him. Souza's lack of cardio, I think, is overrated. Souza being chinny, overstated. Souza should have been the favorite all along. Money's pouring in. By the time the fight starts, Souza might be -140. Souza is really solid. He's like 39 or 41 or something. I mean, he's old as hell, but yeah, he's 41, and he hasn't fought in a year. But that fight was a close fight against the light heavyweight champ. This is a fight that you should probably wait and see the weigh-ins and make sure Souza makes weight easily, right? But he's been training. Kevin Holland has been the one that was training for a fight a couple weeks ago, gets COVID. He was asymptomatic, so it wasn't like he was in the hospital or anything, but he's not able to go train. He's not able to go to the gym. Now Kevin Holland, his fight gets pushed back a week. Now he's fighting Jacare. At least it's a similar style to Jack Hermanson. It's a submission guy. Kevin should be training takedown defense and get-ups. But honestly, I've never seen any evidence that Kevin's actually going to do that. And these shorter guys like Joaquin Buckley are able to get close to him, get to his body. Brendan Allen, so in the first 10 seconds of the Brendan Allen fight, Kevin Holland had thrown like 4 kicks, 3 low kicks and a high kick and a couple punches, backing away, doing anything he can to keep his distance. And Brendan Allen just walked through it, walked up, gets him against the cage, has a body lock, and gets him down like in the first 15 seconds. I expect the same out of Souza. Souza's going to be walking him forward, getting him against the cage, taking him down. For sure.
Yeah.
I'm very confident in it. And if I knew that Kevin Holland, I think he'll survive. He's good on the ground. Kevin Holland competes in grappling matches and tournaments and stuff, and that's actually why I think he grapples with these guys when he doesn't need to. He wants to show off that he's not just one-dimensional. But, man, if he just gets safe and stays safe and uses his jab, he's got a good opportunity. But I think it's going to be a little greasier than that. I think Souza's going to get him down. I think Souza wins.
Yeah. And Souza is 8,000 on fantasy and Holland 8,200.
So that's interesting. So that is thinner, that's less wide than their money line started out. So it's even like the DFS guys knew that Jacare was more live than that money line would start out. I think they're both okay plays. That's good value on both of them. I think you want kind of high exposure to this fight, but I think like 50-50. This is going to be a make or break fight. One of these guys could end up in the optimal lineup. The thing is, they're not the highest scoring. So even when Kevin wins a decision, it's not extremely high scoring. Like the Darren Stewart fight would be an example. We don't know about Kevin's cardio. It's crazy to say that the 41-year-old guy might have the cardio edge, but I think Souza might have the cardio edge. Yeah. We've seen him fight 5 rounds. We've seen him look good in round 3 against Jack Hermanson just 2 fights ago. And we've seen Kevin gas in multiple fights. And he's had COVID. He's not been at the gym. He's not been in his normal routine. He started a week ago, starting to prepare to cut weight. He's not in there in the sauna sweating out water, but he's, eating less carbs, eating less protein. Like he's starting that process of cutting weight. Then he gets sick. It's just a weird thing for Kevin. I got Souza.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next fight here. It is a lightweight bout between Renato Moicano and Rafael Fiziev. We've got Moicano 14-3-1. He is 6-3 in the UFC. And Rafael 8-1. He is 2-1 in the UFC. Moicano does have 3 inches of height, but just a ½ inch of reach. And Moicano is the underdog at plus 122. Rafael, the favorite, at minus 150. What are you thinking here?
This is a really exciting fight, really good fight. We saw Fiziev not too long ago against Mark Chikese. Mark Chikese is a UFC veteran, and Fiziev made it look really easy. He's doing those Matrix, Neo type of evasions on the high kicks. Luckily, Moicano doesn't throw a lot of high kicks because they do not land against Fiziev. Yeah. What does land is the low kicks. Rafael Fiziev is extremely heavy on his front leg. In large part because he's looking to bob and weave and move that body. Against Magomed Mustafayev in Fiziev's UFC debut, he ended up catching him with a spinning back kick. He caught him with 2 spinning back kicks in that fight, actually. He caught him one early and Fiziev popped back up. He ended the fight with another one. But between those, he was landing these peppering leg kicks on Fiziev that were really affecting him, you could tell. Fiziev after that beats Alex White, who's a fine fighter. It was his 10th UFC fight. He was 4-5, now, then 4-6 after that. Alex White was okay, but he actually didn't score too high in that fight at all from a DFS perspective. And then against, Mark Chikese, cardio was fine, his takedown defense was fine. He even took Mark Chikese down. So, he kind of checked all the boxes in his last fight, and I get why people are excited about Fiziev. I like him. I'm excited to watch him, but I don't think he should be that big of a favorite here. Moicano was beating Jose Aldo in round 1. Yeah. The only thing about Moicano is that he shells up when that pace comes. So he was beating Aldo round 1, but in round 2, it was Moicano tried a flying knee that missed, and it creates a messy striking exchange as Aldo's getting off the cage. Aldo catches him with one of those. And it's just 20 unanswered punches. Moicano all of a sudden now he's in the cage, shelled up, and the ref stops it. Standing TKO. He does not respond to that striking pace very well. Before that, he had a great round 1 rear naked choke against Cub Swanson. Moicano was a big favorite in that fight, minus 325. And nice striking in round 1. Moicano actually landed the jab that dropped Cub Swanson, a little bit of ground and pound. Swanson pops up. Moicano gets him against the cage. Just like a wrestling kind of scramble. Takes him down, gets him to mount. Lots of attempts to get up from Swanson. He was doing everything he could. He wasn't hurt. He wasn't tired, like we are. And he could not get up. Finally, the ground and pound made him give up his back, and he gets a rear naked choke. But it was a great all around job. Moicano beat Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar's a stud. Calvin Kattar is headlining a UFC event coming up against Max Holloway. And he's not quite a 2-1 dog. I think he's plus 150 or so. He's a dog to Max Holloway, but Calvin Kattar's a stud, and we're talking about a guy who beat him. So yeah, he lost to Aldo because Aldo is a former champ, a legend, one of the GOATs. But he was beating Aldo round 1. Next fight against Korean Zombie, CSJ, Chen Sun Young just knocks him out in like the first minute. You kind of can't take away a whole lot from that. It was just a heavy overhand, and Moicano was out.
Yeah.
But the Damir Hadjic fight, it was the funny one, if you guys recall it, where after the fight, they were talking smack, and then Moicano was trying to apologize to him. He's saying, "I'm sorry, I just wanted to keep fighting more." And Hadjic was like, "Well, then you shouldn't have submitted me." And, Moicano laughs, but it was sick. Hadzovic throws a heavy hook. Moicano ducked right under it, got the body lock, trip, takes his back, easy work. But it all started from just a beautiful slip and level change on a heavy hook. So he's got good striking defense sometimes. If you start to land on him, he shells up and he doesn't do anything wise. He doesn't go for a takedown. He just kind of, waits for it to stop, and it's usually the ref that stops it. So I get why Rafael is the favorite here, but I think Moicano is certainly a live dog. I'm not betting. Yeah. I haven't bet either side on this fight, to be honest. I think it's closer than the line indicates. I would not be putting Fiziev in your parlays. I think this fight could go to decision, and then anything can happen. Yeah. I think Moicano is underrated. But they're both well-rounded. These guys are both absolute studs. I'm really excited for this fight. I wouldn't be putting Fiziev in your parlays, but I'm not the type of guy to be betting on underdogs very often unless I'm extremely confident. So it's a pass for betting for me.
Yeah. And what do you think about DFS? We've got Moicano at 7,800 and Fiziev at 8,400.
I like Moicano, even though I think, if they fought 11 times, I think Fiziev wins 6 times. So I think Moicano is a better DFS play because if he wins, he can win by finish. And Fiziev, I think if he wins, it's going to be in a low volume decision. Right. He's not boring by any means, but he's low volume. He likes to goad you into striking and then counter. He likes to get you to throw that high kick, evade, and then boom, answer back with a low kick. His strikes come in 1s and 2s at the most. So I think Fiziev, if he wins, it's going to be low scoring. I'd pass. I think Moicano has the opportunity to score high. I'd play him.
Yeah.
And he's cheaper.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so we are moving on to our co-main event of the evening. It is a lightweight bout between Tony Ferguson and Charles Oliveira. Going to be an amazing fight. Definitely contender for fight of the night here. We've got Ferguson at 25-4, 12-2 in the UFC, and Oliveira 29-8, won no contest. He is 15-8 in the UFC. Ferguson does have an inch of height and 2 inches of reach, a little bit of an advantage there, and he is the favorite in this fight at -184. Oliveira, the underdog, at +148. What are you thinking here?
So everybody, like if I had $1 for every message that I've gotten saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about playing Holland, Ferguson, Figgy, parlay. What do you think?" If I had $1 for everyone, then I wouldn't have to be betting on sports anymore because you'd be a millionaire. Everybody is heavy on Holland, Figgy, and Ferguson. And the same reasons I mentioned, I'm little sketchy, little afraid of Holland. Same thing with Ferguson. So these guys are both very similar fighters. If you look at their resumes, very rarely do these guys fight longer than 12.5 minutes. The under 2.5 almost always hits. Wow. But they're both very similar. They both have great grappling. They both have incredibly exciting striking. We think of Tony Ferguson for his elbows and stuff, but Charles Oliveira landed a sick lawnmower elbow. Who was that against? Against David Tamir. So a lawnmower elbow is like a backwards up elbow where you're actually hitting him with your back, like tricep and the meaty part. It's not in here with the sharp part. So like we think of Tony Strickland getting knocked out, by that punch or that elbow, by that strike by Anderson Silva. It's a tough one to land, and when it does, it's really, really heavy. So like, Samart, Paya Karun, just kind of invented it. But, I think of Anderson Silva and Pride against Tony Strickland. But, the lawnmower elbow drops David Timur, who's a good striker. And Charles has gotten his eye poked multiple times in that fight. It was like a good gutsy performance. Before that, he round 1 rear naked choke Jim Miller after dropping him. Then round 2 right cross. Nick Lentz, who's a great wrestler. He was having a sprawl and brawl. Beats Jared Gordon. Nothing too exciting there. His most recent fight against Kevin Lee, a headliner fight. Round 1, he's trying to take Lee down, and it was like a attempted toss. He lands on bottom. He's fishing for a heel hook, but Lee ends up on top. Kevin Lee's wrestling really got him round 1 and round 2, and then he just gassed. It was not a great performance for Charles Oliveira. But Oliveira was just pulling guard, striking, looking good. He just kind of wore out Kevin Lee with the grappling. But like I said, he was on bottom most of that fight. It wasn't the best performance. Mm-hmm. So Ferguson, we all know him, former interim champ. He beat Kevin Lee for that interim title, though. I think Tony Ferguson's resume got a little bit padded. Talk about beating guys like Anthony Pettis. His last win was against Donald Cerrone. He did have that, 5 fights ago, 4 wins ago. The 25-minute brawl, just absolute slobber knocker against Rafael dos Anjos. That was in Mexico City at Elevation. That Elevation really takes a lot out of you. Before that, he had the round 2 Darce choke against Lando Venata. But what you don't know is that Lando dropped him twice in that fight. Part of my point here is that Tony gets hurt in all of these fights. You guys remember Anthony Pettis dropping him, right? And then Tony's cardio takes over. He's cutting Anthony up. He's got him up against the cage. Anthony Pettis is a bloody mess. Anthony Pettis has to go for like a desperation capoeira kick. But like that whole, even when he throws that, he was incredibly gassed. He throws that capoeira kick. You kind of thought that he's about to knock out Tony Ferguson with it. He had Tony Ferguson hurt. And then, Pettis actually, broken hand is what made his corner not let him come out again. The last fight against Justin Gaethje, I give Tony Ferguson a pass on because Tony was training for Khabib. What do you train there? You're training takedown defense. You're training get-ups. You're training sticking and moving and sprawling and brawling, right? Now you get the complete opposite end of the spectrum in Justin Gaethje, who wants you to jab because all he's trying to do is throw heavy overhand counters off that or heavy counter leg kicks off of that. So it was such a tough, unfair thing for Tony Ferguson to have such a drastic change of opponent, in my opinion. I don't think Justin Gaethje is that much better if this was a normal situation and if Tony got to train for him. But Tony has long layoffs. He's always getting hurt. You watch his Instagram and he's always doing the craziest, most acrobatic, just the craziest training techniques. You're like, Jesus Christ, is this why you're always getting hurt, pulling out of fights? Stop it, bro. Just run on a treadmill and spar. What are you doing? Stop doing this crazy stuff for the gram. Because clearly you get hurt. But he gets hurt in every fight. And that last fight against Justin Gaethje took more damage than he ever has. So I'm not one to be like, I think this guy's going to fall off a cliff here. I think he's due to have a bad performance. He's due to get chin checked. He's due to... But, man, Tony Ferguson does have a lot of... Those stars are aligning to be like, is this finally where we're going to see Tony look human? And again, they have such similar styles. If Charles Oliveira can hurt him and drop him, Charles Oliveira has the opportunity to submit him. I don't think Oliveira is going to submit a clear-headed Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson has amazing jiu-jitsu, very unorthodox. Everything he does is unorthodox, as you guys know. But so I think, why is Tony not a 3-1 favorite in this fight? You think, well, is it just the recency bias because he lost to Justin Gaethje? Like I just said, I think that loss is acceptable, understandable. Mm-hmm. But it's more than that. It's that even when he wins, he's taken tons of damage, too much damage. So, I think this is a closer fight. I do not have Tony Ferguson in any parlays, to be honest. Where a lot of people, like I said, that's just Kevin Holland, Tony Ferguson, Figgy. It seemed, I don't think both Kevin Holland and Tony Ferguson win Saturday. Again, Charles Oliveira has underrated striking, snapping leg kicks that put a hurt on you. Good technical striking from a boxing perspective, stays safe, and he can mix it up with some nifty elbows and things like that. So yeah, this is going to be a great fight. Like I said, neither one of these guys usually fight over 2.5 rounds. So the under here, I think, is very safe.
Yeah.
This is the third least likely fight to go to decision according to the bookies. I agree with that. Really excited for this fight. I think it's closer. I think Charles Oliveira is underrated. I think Tony Ferguson's a little overrated. And, it's such a tough one because Tony, if he looks like his old self, he should steamroll through Charles. He can strike with Charles. He can even get hurt. He can pop back up. He can get cut. He's just like invincible, right? But I don't know, I need to see that again before I bet on a guy just on invincibility or durability or chin or cardio. Like, I need to see him do that again before I can be like, okay, Tony's still that guy. Because, the Justin fight just took a lot out of him, I think.
Yeah.
You can talk about this one all day. It's such a tough one. Can't wait to watch it. Cannot wait to watch it.
Yeah.
Honestly, one of the reasons why I'm excited that I don't have any bets on this because I don't want to be furious. Yeah. I want to just watch this one with a brew in a glass. Yeah. Not a shoe. So.
Yeah, not a shoe. Never again a shoe. Because we're never going to be wrong again.
Yeah.
And then DFS, we've got Ferguson at 80. What are you going to say? Sorry.
I was going to say, if that parlay hits, if the Figgy, Kevin Holland, Tony Ferguson parlay hits, I'll do a shoey. Because you've all been asking it, and I've all been telling you not to. And if you were all right and I was wrong, I'll do a shoey.
Oh, God.
I'm going to have to buy new shoes.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. That's
Any
outside.
excuse you have.
Yeah.
We got Ferguson in DraftKings at 8,600 and Oliveira at 7,600.
I like them both. I like them both big time. Have them both because it's gonna, like I mentioned, they don't usually go over the 2.5.
Right.
Look at it's all second round finishes, first round finishes. Charles Oliveira has like a 94% finish rate. I think it is. It's unreal.
That's crazy.
So I think play them both.
Yeah.
And let's real quickly so when I say play them both, you need to understand the difference between playing them both. Like if you play 10 lineups, you have 5 and 5 versus stacking. Last week we told you to stack Marvin Vittoria and Jack Hermanson. That means play them both. That was effing smart. That paid off. They fought for 25 minutes. They set the record for significant strikes in a middleweight fight. So but it's rare that you want to do that. You typically don't want to bet both opponents. You typically want to do it in 5-round fights. In 5-round fights that you expect to go to decision, like Max Holloway versus somebody. Yeah, Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar, stack that. Last part is you typically want to stack only in cash games though, because in a GPP, a guaranteed prize pool where you're trying to beat 999 people, you're trying to be number 1 out of 1,000. You're not going to do that by stacking. You need like the 6 highest scoring people. So when I say play on both, I typically do not mean stack. Right. I'll specify to stack them both, which means play them both and 4 other fighters in the same lineup.
Right.
Hope that makes sense.
All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. We're moving on to our main event of the evening. It is a flyweight championship bout between Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno. Very exciting fight here. Figueiredo 20-1. He's 9-1 in the UFC. Moreno 18-5-1. He's 5-2 in the UFC. He does have 2 inches of height and reach on Figueiredo. Figueiredo is a huge favorite here at -355. And Moreno, the underdog, at +270. What are you thinking here? I'm excited for this one.
So excited. This is so great. Figgy Bank, yeah. Yep. I mean, it's so funny that not too long ago, this division, the UFC wanted to cut it, right? Like, no one wanted to watch it. Now, this division, pardon that IPA, this division is headlining back-to-back UFC pay-per-views. For real. It's cool. I like it. I always like these fighters because they're more technical. You see more skill. Like, you see more action. I like the lightweight fighters. So, always have. Brandon Moreno, like, we can talk about Figgy all day. He's a monster. He's got the knockout power. He's got submission. We predicted his last 2 fights to end by submission, and they did. Moreno, let's talk about Moreno. He is really exciting. His striking leaves a little bit to be desired here, and I don't think it's a good style for Figgy. What Brandon Moreno likes to do is goad you into it. He puts his hands down and literally sticks his chin out. And he literally just wants you to throw. He will take one to land one. He responds with these counters with like a hook, high kick. He is so comfortable getting hit and just to land a low kick or a hook, kick like I'm describing. That's like his only game. I'm not even exaggerating. It's like all he wants to do is goad you into the striking. When he gets people down, like Brandon Royval, like Jussier Formiga, like Kaikar France even, he leaves way too much space on top of them. They're able to get butterfly hooks, put their feet on his chest, kick out. He does not have good top control. He does not have good defensive striking. He does not have a good offensive. And my God, I'm like, it sounds like I'm just, railing on him. This guy's a stud. Liked him for a long time. Liked him from when he was on Ultimate Fighter. But my gosh, does his style not match up well for Figgy, in my opinion?
Yeah.
You cannot stick your chin out there and take one from Figgy to land two on Figgy. There's going to be two hits. Figgy hitting you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I just, as much as I like Brandon Moreno, we love Brandon Royval. So many people were heavy on Brandon Royval because that recency bias. They just watched him win, like we told you, Brandon Moreno is a step up. I have a lot of respect for Brandon Moreno. But his style does not match up well here, so why is this line not like minus 500? Well, if you asked me which champion has had the easiest last 4 fights, I think it's Figgy by a landslide. Perez is fine, but he wasn't even the true number one contender. Before that, he beat Joseph Benavidez twice. I love Joey B, so I won't talk too much smack there, but, you guys get the point. Before that, he beats Tim Elliott. You cannot tell me another champion who has had an easier last 4 fights than Figgy. Maybe it's because he makes them look easy, but that's not it. These opponents that he's been facing are not that level. And,
Right.
Brandon Moreno, I think, is the best of that bunch. Over this 5-fight streak, I think Brandon Moreno's for sure the best fighter of those 5. But again, the style just is not well suited to beat Davis and Figueiredo. Simple as that, really. I've watched all of Moreno's fights over the last couple of days, and they're all the same. I'm telling you, he goads people into the striking, even in round 3. Yeah,
he sticks his neck out and then he goes.
Yeah, exactly, exactly right. And my goodness, if there's one fighter to not do that against, it's the flyweight champ.
Yeah.
Davis and Figueiredo, God of War. Okay, so I told you. Oh, this is really juicy. The fast turnaround. You think, oh God, Figueiredo's a monster, right? He's had trouble making weight before. No, he's the smaller man here. He's shorter. He's got smaller reach. He's just got a smaller skeleton.
Yeah.
All things even, he would have an easier time making weight than Brandon Moreno. But worse than that, so that's just weight. Okay, so that's part of it. He's just a smaller man. He's smaller. He's going to have an easier time making weight. On top of that, he knew immediately after his last fight that he's going to be fighting again this weekend. Brandon Moreno got back in that locker room. Like, I don't know. I would be chugging beers and eating pizza and stuff. I'd be like Jorge Masvidal at the press conference with a folded up piece of pizza and my own new, tequila brand next to me, right? Like, that was kind of Brandon Moreno. Brandon Moreno was like, holy cow, I just won a great fight against a stud, first round stoppage. I'll tell you this too, that was not as dominant of a first round stoppage against Brandon Royval. Brandon Royval was doing some great things, and he had a kind of a weird, he was in Royval's guard, lots of space like I was describing. Royval scrambles out and goes for a leg. He ends up on top. It was like a weird position where they're both on their backs face up, but it was like a side control position. And then all of a sudden, Royval, his shoulder messes up. But Royval was on top, and he got there from fishing for a leg, something we know Figueiredo's good at. So anyway, that wasn't just like a dominant first-round finish of Brandon Royval. I almost felt lucky to have picked that fight correctly because Royval was looking decent. So anyway, he is bigger. He didn't know he was going to fight again. He was celebrating that Royval win, eating milk and cookies like Santa. The third reason is that I think Figgy has an advantage for this fast turnaround is that Figgy was able to get right back in the gym. He took no damage.
Yeah.
And against Perez. And Moreno did take some damage. Royval had some nice striking. His lip was busted open. His eye was swollen shut.
Yeah.
I promise you that Moreno was not able to get back in that gym 2 days later. Maybe on a treadmill, but not sparring, not wrestling, not rolling, not anything. So I think Figgy's got 3 advantages due to this fast turnaround that I just laid out. He's the better fighter. I think I've been getting Figgy since he was minus 255.
Yeah.
I told everyone this line was going to move. And now it's, minus 350. It moved a full buck. I think it'll continue to move. I bet he's minus 375 by fight time Saturday. I think he's going to weigh in just fine. And I'm so excited. And we're going to be cashing that Figgy bank.
Good one.
Yeah, 2 Figgy banks in 1 month.
Can't get better than that.
No.
And Figueiredo, obviously one of the pricier fighters in fantasy. He's 9,000 and Moreno at 7,200, which I'm surprised he's that cheap.
Yeah.
I guess he is like quite a bit of an underdog, but
yeah. So this is I say play them both.
Yeah.
You could even stack them in a cash game. By a cash game, we're talking about 50-50s, double ups, where you're playing one guy. You're trying to just have the better line out of one person, not 999. I think you could stack this one because I don't exactly anticipate a first round knockout. Moreno is so durable. That's how Moreno wins. Moreno, even the Kai Kara France fight, Kai Kara France looked good in round 1. He's putting it on Moreno, but Moreno's just so durable. He doesn't get hurt. He just keeps walking forward like Jason Voorhees. And all of a sudden, his consistent pace and his durability, his chin, turns the tide in his favor. Mm-hmm. That's how. Did you see a Formiga fight? I actually think Formiga beat him. Formiga was. I won't go too far into it, but Moreno wins because of his durability and his chin and his cardio and his tenacity and his forward pressure. So I think he could last a couple rounds with Figgy.
Yeah.
Honestly, if he gets to round 4 and 5, Moreno has the edge, I think. So I think they're both good plays. I think in cash games you could even stack them, like I'm describing. And but I'd have extremely high exposure to this fight both ways.
Yeah. All right, I think that's a wrap on UFC 256. It's going to be an amazing card. Very entertaining. Either way, we're going to cash out big on that Figgy bank.
Yeah.
And make sure you do tune in, turn up and tune in to that post-weigh-in video on Friday. Like we said, very important stuff in there. We'll do quick, lightning fast breakdowns, everything you need. Predictions, bets, parlays, DFS advice, all that good stuff. So anything else you want to say?
Nope. Thank you all for watching. We want to get these out on Monday, but it's so much work. We've been shopping. We have family out of town. We have to, everything's taking weeks to ship. So we're trying to get holiday shopping done. So we're sorry this got out late.
Right.
In the future, we want these out on Monday nights. Record them Sunday, edit them, get the highlights on, and get these out Monday. So thank you all. It's a ton of hard work. Thank you for all the hard work you do. And cannot wait to add units and units and units.
Yeah. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching and enjoy those fights. We will see you next time.